we had a meeting one day and went for a lunch break. I ended up being in the conference room with him, just him and me. John looked at me and said, "Do you want to know how I became a billionaire?" And I was thinking, I'm married, 2 kids, 28 years old, mortgage, probably $50 in my checking account, and I lean in. I'm like, yeah. I
Let's start with $1 million. Show me how to get to $1 million first.
I'd kind of like to know.
All right, sweet. So, do you want me to do anything? Just Steve Rigali.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's cool.
All right. Welcome to the MNO Show with Steve Rigali.
Welcome. All right, welcome.
Hey, guys.
Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Good to be here.
Awesome. Today is our 4th anniversary.
Yeah, it seems a lot longer than that, doesn't
It does. It feels like dog years. It feels like it's been 28 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you guys probably started talking about this before it actually happened, right?
Yeah.
It came on pretty quick.
Yeah.
I came in pretty late in the game. This facility had already been decided on, and so it was going by the time I showed up.
So you heard about it, and you found out you might want to make a investment. Now your background's public equity,
Yes.
not private equity.
Yep.
Okay. And so you invest in publicly traded companies primarily.
Yeah. So the company I work for is Kayne Rudnick, who's an investment management firm. We're in Century City. Been in business for about 40 years. 125 employees. We manage $50+ billion in assets for institutional and individual investors.
Is there a specific vertical that you guys go after, or is there a certain theme that you invest in?
Yeah, our clients, we have a global business. So, it ranges from sovereign wealth funds globally, state retirement, pension plans, endowments, foundations, individual investors. So we have a pretty broad client base, and the brand's well known in our industry, and we worked really hard to be successful, and it's been a great ride. I've been there for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
The origins of that firm were through a gentleman by the name of John Anderson. John, wonderful guy to work for. Self-made billionaire. What's unusual about that is he was a billionaire around 1980 when there was a heck of a lot less of them.
Right.
And John's background was law and accounting. Came from no wealth, depression baby, and his undergraduate school was UCLA. He came to UCLA on a hockey scholarship, which was unusual. I guess they had an ice skating ring in Westwood. And he just worked very hard. I'm not sure how he got in the position, but ultimately he ended up becoming the family attorney for the Bush family of Anheuser-Busch.
Okay.
And the story that he told me was back in the 1970s, they asked him to find a buyer for their distribution business. They only wanted to be in the production side of the business, and after failing at that, he decided to acquire it himself, and that became a huge home run for him. They're actually a very local family here. They are large landowners in the Canal Valley in Ventura County. The Silver Star dealerships down here in Thousand Oaks, the family owns. That's the Anderson dealerships. They have significant land holdings up in Ventura and Santa Barbara counties where they have citrus and ranching activities, but they have a broad portfolio of businesses, and so our business started as an investment management business for him, and with the goal of building that over time. And John was a great guy. He had no trappings of wealth. You walk down the street, you could not tell this guy was a billionaire, you know, and he just had that Midwestern attitude about him, and he was a great mentor.
Of course he is Midwestern if he played hockey, right?
Yeah, exactly. He was a great mentor for me, and I was very lucky as a young person to get hired, and been there for 30 years, and responsible for the day-to-day management of the business, and it's been a lot of fun. So
it's really interesting. So with Tarantula Hill, I'm guessing this was a side investment for you to get involved with these guys.
Yeah, I had some friends who were interested in potentially opening a brewery here in Thousand Oaks. In fact, John Hamm is sitting over there, was instrumental in that, and John actually introduced me to John and Ollie. As I said before, they were at a pretty advanced state of what they wanted to do here, and they were looking for investors. And I just thought it was, first of all, this area needed this, and the opportunity was great. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been an education for me. And the timing of opening the place was not fortuitous with the COVID situation, but we're doing well now.
Yeah. It's been awesome.
Yeah. John, what was your take from John's background comes from music.
Yep.
Basically got funded by Atlantic your first
Exactly.
game. So this must have been totally different, getting investors, and what that was like this time around for you. Yeah,
no, it was it's been a crazy learning experience for me as well. When I remember when I first met Steve we were in Ollie's in his backyard and talking about stuff or whatever, and in the beginning I was just talking about doing marketing and the ice cream.
Yep.
And I remember Steve was going, why would we do
ice cream at a brewery?
Yeah,
Well, I don't get that.
This is crazy. And then I remember telling Ollie after, I was like, I know that my resume doesn't really, do me any justice, but trust me, I got this. And I know Steve is probably worried about this, whatever. And then when we were working with, we had a guy who was the COO at the time, who had a great resume, but he didn't end up working out. So I was like, yeah, I got this.
Yeah.
But I knew very little about I knew about the music industry, and I've always tried to find parallels into business or whatever. But Steve has been a huge mentor for me in the world of business. I've learned, as well as you too, Jeff. He's taught me tons as well. You guys have both been mentors for me in this world. And it's I say it all the time. I feel like in the last 4 years I've gotten basically gotten a free business education.
Yeah. I think you got more than an MBA though. I think you got a doctorate. It's 4 years.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, if I got
Exactly.
4
Right? He's got 4 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's the group of people that actually came together, and the key stakeholders here. They come from a variety of different backgrounds, and it's really worked out in our favor.
Yeah.
With the McGrory family down in San Diego and Jack's background, and these guys do stuff from a branding and marketing standpoint that just blows me away. I look at the cans, look what they do. John's exceptionally creative, and all I try to do is provide them some advice from experience of evaluating publicly traded companies and seeing how they're run, and put some financial discipline around our decisions here. But let these guys do. They're talented. I just try to help
Keep them in the box.
Keep them, kind of like the bumpers on the bowling alley, and just, So, they don't need a lot of guidance from me, because they're pretty exceptionally talented guys. And,
Right.
they really blow me away with what they've done here. So
We definitely, the DNA, what I search for when I work with companies, and we never talk about my background, so we're going to have to keep that secret. But
that's another podcast.
Is one of my fundamental things with the companies I work with, are they learning? Are they willing to learn?
Yeah.
If you're not willing to learn, you're not willing
Yeah.
to change. In early stage, fast-growing companies, you're going to be changing all the time. And
Yeah.
John's a sponge.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we connected through jiu-jitsu, which anybody in jiu-jitsu is a sponge, typically, because
Yeah.
it's like an ocean of information, and you kind of have to wade your way through it and figure out how to stay afloat.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think that's like a superpower for sure of yours. And the zeitgeist, he's hit it a couple times. So,
Yeah, at this point, I ask him if I'm overstaying my welcome, because I just, he is a sponge. He's learned so much that at some point, I'm not going to have any advice to give him anymore. So I keep
That's when you
checking,
just stay
like
quiet.
checking in with him. I'm like, okay, are we good? I don't want to, I don't want to be a pain in your ass.
No.
So
I'm always learning. There's always more to learn. Like I mean, I only get little bits of your time, so I know that you have, there's a giant ocean worth of knowledge over there that I'm always soaking it up. And then, like you said too, McGrory, obviously, he's sort of a man of few words. But there's definitely a lot of lessons to learn, from him. And like pretty much like our one of the things that I always kind of tell people about, like in every meeting, he's just, Andy, how much cash we got in the bank?
Yeah.
It's really the only thing he says. He'll say that in every meeting. He'll say other things sometimes, but that's the one thing he says. And after a while, I was like, why is that so important? There's a lesson here,
Right.
Yeah.
and
And then like why does that mean so much to him or whatever? And then, over 4 years now, I've figured it out, like the importance of,
Yeah, Jack's got a great background, hugely successful businessman in San Diego. He was the longtime CFO for the San Diego Padres. He's not that anymore, but he was extended period of time there. He's on the board of regents of the University of California system, and instrumental in building that new stadium down in San Diego. And he's got his hands in a lot of different things. And Jack's an interesting guy,
He really
and
is.
pretty much lays down the law and sets direction. But he's been just a great asset. So again, I think a really good group of people from a variety of different backgrounds came into this place, and it's really helped. So
diversity wins.
yep, absolutely.
I don't know Jack.
You should have Jack.
But-
on for a
Yeah, we should have him come on the podcast
So
for
you
sure.
would enjoy.
I
Jack
actually
on
just
the
want to say I
podcast.
didn't know Jack. But it's funny what you reminded me of. So I studied entrepreneurship when in the Midwest, but we won't get into that. And I graduated with entrepreneurship and finance degree, and I'd bounce back between these classes because the last 2 years you're like super in depth in these classes, and my entrepreneurship main teacher would just be like, cash flow, how much cash you got? And I had a business in college, so I was like applying this.
Yeah.
And I go over to my finance class, and they're like, balance sheet.
Yeah.
Basically, it was like, do you have enough money to grow? And it was like, how much are you worth? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was funny to bounce back, and to have that perspective of both was
Yeah.
like really enlightening. I just was kind of chasing what I thought was interesting. So I knew either I'd get into investing or I'd get into like actually building something.
Yeah.
And it turned out teaching people how to build things and building it my own. But yeah, it was interesting. So I understand what Jack's saying with the cash.
Yeah, we've learned the lesson of liquidity and making good decisions based on what your resources. At the end of the day, that's it. What resources do you have to be able to, spend more money on more equipment here and the timing of it, and sometimes you want to do something but you just you're not in a position to be able to do it. So that's been a really important lesson for John and Ollie, and I think if there's been some value added for Jack and my perspective is to educate you guys on that.
Yeah.
At this point, they know where they're at, and there's little that for us to, I think, advise on at this point. But
No,
yeah.
please don't take the training wheels off. I'm not ready. No, but and another thing too, like in regards to that too, that Steve is his kind of thing that's similar to that one is no more debt. You know, like him keeping an eye on like what's the balance of, you know, where cash versus debt, and it's like you can see how that could be a very slippery slope, because people are, you know, once you get rolling, people are happy to give you money, you know, and so
I have a mentor that always said that like credit lines and debt is like crack.
Yeah,
to
it's
entrepreneurs.
Crack. It is.
Yeah.
I'll take more. I'll take more.
Yeah.
I'll take more. And all of a sudden one day you're like, oh, I don't have any margin left.
Yeah. No,
How do we
we've
make
been
payroll?
like we've been down the road, like we're like, you know, miles down this road, and then go into the meeting with Steve and Jack. It's like Steve's like, no, we're not taking any more debt. So no, figure it out another way, you know. So, and then it's like, okay, back to the drawing board, you know. But yeah, and then you can see like, you know, had that leash not been really short on us, like we would have failed by now. You know, like we would have people look at this place and they go, it's massive, how do you do this and all this crazy stuff. It's like, man, it's like, yeah, it's crazy. Like it's more likely that we would have failed by now than it is that we're still here. You know what I mean? For how big and crazy and, you know, what this operation is in this town, you know, like.
Yeah, but you know, what this place had, it always had a great product, and it always had its creativity.
Mm-hmm.
It's just about managing the business within the resources that you have, make really good financial decisions, because that's the only way that we would have been tripped up.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, and we're at a good spot.
Yeah.
We're at a really good spot at this place.
Well, but I came from a world of, so being in the music industry, like you said, like Atlantic was financing. So when I signed to Atlantic, I got signed not because I'm not a great singer, I'm not a great musician, I'm just creative, and that was why they saw that and they signed us. And I put together a group of guys who were all creative. None of us were great musicians by any means, but we had a vision. We were creative, all the stuff, and then you signed the deal, and it was like I think our deal was a $400,000 deal. But I was in the music industry prior, so I knew that like that number doesn't mean anything. That's just the number they put on paper. We spent $400,000 in like the first month.
Yeah,
you know
exactly,
what I mean?
right.
So and then they're like, this isn't good enough. Let's go to New York. They flew us to New York. They put us in a penthouse suite on the Upper East Side. They put us in Axis Studio, which was like in the building where Studio 54 was. We walked in the first day, and like the studio, there was a gold Manley microphone that we were renting that was probably, you know, $1,000 a week that we never even used. There was 20 guitars on rental that we never even touched. Like all, you know, just there. We spent $1 million before we even got back from New York. You know, there was no. It was just be creative, be creative, be creative. And then we're like, we broke for Thanksgiving. We're like, oh, let's go back to our place. Hey, we want to put $50,000 more into our studio here, but yeah, go for it. Whatever. Like, there was never had to think about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I never had to understand.
You didn't need to operate.
Yeah, I didn't have to operate. It was just they were. That was the beauty of record labels in that era. Was like, you know, like they were, and I learned that at Island, like when they like Chris Blackwell, like, you know, he had U2 that was like making the money, and the Bob Marley cat was making the money, but then he signed like PJ Harvey, who was like, she was never gonna sell millions of records, but she deserved a home because of how creative she was.
Critically acclaimed.
You know, so like she just deserved a home, and it was just they weren't looking at her balance sheet. They like she was upside down her entire career, but it didn't matter. Like,
you know, it's interesting what they were funding product basically.
Yeah,
they're funding product. You were the product developers.
Yeah, and
you guys were creating product, just like you setting up the stage to let the brewers do their thing.
Yeah,
to create your hits here, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, they don't have to. I don't want them to think about it. We've talked about that. Like that's why I've mentioned this before, and it's probably new to you, but I think about running this place like running a record label. You know, like the brewers are the band, and like they don't need to worry about that. It's the same thing. Like, don't worry about it. Just make hits.
Yeah, exactly.
Just keep banging out the hits.
Right.
You know.
Exactly.
We have the marketing team. We got Josh in there that's gonna make the cans look rad. We got, you know, whatever. Like, you know, I don't want him thinking about it either. You know, I don't want that like.
Speaking of hits, we should drink some.
Yeah, that's right. Let me text Jared.
This margarita is really nice. You've done a good job here. You know, we talk about the finance part of it, but the other part of it is you know, the client. We focus a lot of attention on what the client experience is, and you know, I have this story going back to John Anderson of, you know, when I first started working, I was 28 years old, and John at that point was in his 70s, and we had a meeting one day and went for a lunch break. I ended up being in the conference room with him, just him and me. John looked at me and said, "Do you want to know how I became a billionaire?" And I was thinking, you know, I'm married, 2 kids, 28 years old, mortgage, probably $50 in my checking account, and I lean in. I'm like, yeah. I
Start with $1 million. Show me how to get to $1 million first.
You know, I'd kind of like to know. And he said, you know what? I just treat everyone the same. Everyone in my organization, regardless of their role, I treat them with respect. And when a client comes to visit us, I never promote myself. I promote everyone else in the organization, and how important this person is, how important this one. And when you do that, all of those people will run through a brick wall for you, and they will also be successful. And it was a really important lesson for me.
Right.
That is, if you're fundamentally doing the right thing for the people you work with and the people who, you know, use your services, that goes a long way towards having a successful business. Yes, you need to have the financial metrics in place, but it's this whole client experience, which we grind on and worry about here at the brewery all the time, which is really important.
Right. I always think of it just like a watch with a whole bunch of gears. Just because one gear is a little tiny small, the other ones are big. Even if that little one goes broken, the whole watch stops.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you don't do it just for the fact of making the watch run, but you do it because that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how I always kind of view it.
Yeah, and we've those exact words that he just said, we've talked about that before, and that's definitely landed on me, and that's definitely, like, you know, that's a part of our DNA here. Like, that is our culture, you know, like that is a big part of our culture.
And we're going to be doing some stuff in the future that's going to be cool with the work that's going to be done in the back with the music in the back, and continue to build this place out to be kind of a destination spot.
Yeah.
Where it's not only about the beer, but it's also about the experience. Going to have music back there, a stage back there. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, it's going to be good. We kind of have like a makeshift version of it now that's a lot of fun, but yeah, it's only going to get better, so we're excited. The liquor's new.
Yep.
We're drinking margaritas. Cheers, everyone, by the way.
Yep.
Salud, as we're drinking tequila.
These are really good.
They're great, right?
You know, there's nothing, you know, this, if you have a place where you make great cocktails, it will just, again, change what people perceive this place to be.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there's great margin in them.
And there's great margin.
We just have to get the construction finished.
I know, right?
They taste just as good as the margin in them, so it all works out.
Yeah. So we'll have beer coming up. So we'll drink some beer.
You want to just go grab GR and just grab it and just bring it?
Text him. Okay.
All right. So we've got 4 beers here.
So we're gonna start out with the
Lager.
Our lager. This
Okay.
is our anniversary, our 4-year anniversary lager.
So unlike most shows, we're just gonna
Tarantula Hill
talk
lager.
about these.
Yeah, we're just gonna talk about. There's no game today. Look how. Oh, geez, that was awesome. Look at the color of that. It's pretty amazing.
Cheers to 4 years.
Cheers
guys.
Cheers to 4 years.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys. Personally, I've had a lot of good memories here.
It's been a good 4 years.
It has been a good 4 years.
John's got a lot of memories.
I get to relive them all.
I do.
Some are more intense than others.
I have good ones, bad ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Intense ones.
Yeah.
scary ones, COVID memories.
That's part of that's like an essential experience here. You have to have some bad experiences here.
It's just part
I
of the
think
game.
I think we need I think someone wants to take a photo.
You know what? She'd be great for a podcast too. She could
Yeah.
tell some stories.
Or
We could talk about the
Okay,
prices right.
horizontal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this lager is different. Initially, we were going to do the Pilsner that we did last year.
It's really good.
This is made with it's got rice in it. It's like
Really?
yeah, you can now taste it again and you'll taste the rice.
In this glass, this color almost looks like a Chardonnay.
It does, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's pretty. It's a pretty color. But it almost, it's like
You're right.
it's almost like a rice lager.
yeah. Is Budweiser a rice lager? Is that right?
Budweiser does use whatever the rice component was that they use in this, Budweiser uses that.
Really?
Yeah.
Thought so.
I think it's like partial, they did like a partial, I'm not exactly sure what the component was of whatever that was rice, but Dante was telling me about it. We'll ask him. He's out there today, so
Okay.
we'll get that in the next one and clarify. But yeah, it's amazing. It's super light.
Smooth.
So has this been named?
Currently, it's just Tarantula Hill Lager,
Okay.
the 4-year anniversary.
Okay, so it's the point.
It's just this is the one that they wanted to do for the anniversary today. So we're gonna drink a bunch of cans of these out in the back tonight. And
That's
then
really good.
It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
We're still working on so they did the one that was called the Light, which was the light lager, and we're still formulating the lager that's gonna be the lager. Like our lager.
Right.
So it's going to be somewhere probably in between this one and the Light. This one here is our barrel-aged grade.
I heard this. I've had this a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
It's pretty
phenomenal.
incredible.
Is this now? You had some barrel-aged ones before.
This is our second barrel-aged.
Okay.
The first one was we did a collab with Bottle Logic, and we did that. And they put a barrel in.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing.
They put a barrel in there with a bourbon barrel.
What do you
And then-
taste in there?
I can't wait to put this over ice cream. That's what I'm tasting right now.
Oh yeah.
Coffee,
We
Yeah,
could do that.
absolutely. Coffee comes in real
The
strong.
coffee is definitely the first.
like some sort of nut,
Yeah.
like a macadamia
Like
nut.
there's almost like a vanilla taste to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Yep.
coffee, there's vanilla, and there's one other thing, one other adjunct.
How long was this in a barrel?
2 years.
Okay.
We took the grade, just our normal grade, which is kind of our flagship stout, which has
That's
vanilla,
really good.
coffee,
Really good.
and the other one is cocoa nibs. And they put it in a bourbon barrel, and it's been sitting in there for 2 years.
Wow.
And then they took it out, and so there is a you can taste the bourbon in there a little bit as well.
Yeah.
And then they kind of did another blend with some more grade, to kind of reduce. The bourbon was kind of over the top, right out of the barrel. So they kind of put a little bit more of the grade back in, and then they rested it again on some more vanilla, some more chocolate, and some more coffee.
So how much of this was made? Is this going to be sold only here locally?
This was just one of those barrels.
Okay.
That's all.
Oh,
so
wow.
it'll just be.
Yeah, it's just here, just in bottles.
Yep.
And they did a couple kegs
Okay.
for here tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just.
Yeah, you got to
bottles.
grab some bottles before you go.
Okay.
Vanilla ice cream with almonds in it with this over the top.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
That would
That's an award-winning. That's an award-winning
Beer float.
dessert.
Well, it'll put
Yeah.
you to bed.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
that's
Really, really good.
Yeah.
super good.
Okay, there's that one, and then this one here. This is the triple IPA that we did for the beer club.
Tell me a little bit about the beer club.
So we have a thing called the Frontier Society. We started it on the first year. It's kind of evolved. It's kind of been different things. We did the first series was
Arcade games. Oh wait, no,
that was the
before.
second year.
It was
The first year was like all Frontiers.
Pioneer.
So it was the
kinda.
Pioneer was the very first one. What were some of the other ones? Do you remember?
Final Frontier was
The Final Frontier was the last one. And that was like a Star Trek you can. It was all
Oh,
things.
yeah, I remember that one.
We kind of like, yeah, it was like the Frontier Society. It was kind, Thousand Oaks kind of has this, like, I don't know, like this stagecoach, the stage. That's kind of the vibe, whatever.
Right.
Which kind of with that vibe.
Yep.
And then we let it evolve. I think the second year was the video games. We had Joust, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong.
You guys are both looking at the
Galaga?
wall of
Galaga,
stickers.
yes, exactly.
I know you can't see a single sticker. It's all just.
Josh, you should drop
much.
in a photo of that.
No, we should drop in a photo of that.
Yes.
That new can display.
Oh, that would be awesome.
That'd be
Yeah,
sick.
it has all of them. Then this year was LA legendary sports teams. So we had the Rams, the Dodgers, and the Lakers. And then so we had like the first one was like Cooper Cup, like a baseball card, but instead we took Cooper Cup and then we superimposed Mike's face
Right.
on it. And then
Yeah.
this one
Yeah.
was Kurt Rambis and
Whose face is on that?
Dante.
Dante's face.
okay.
Yeah. And then Scott was on the Mookie Betts.
So
Was it
speaking
Mookie?
of creativity, like,
Yeah,
that fun?
absolutely.
as well.
How much fun is that?
Yeah, and Josh killed those cans. It's hilarious. They're hilarious. Yeah, and then also, so if you're a member, also we have we do 16-ounce pints here, but if you're a member, for the same prices, you get a 20-ounce pour.
Oh,
That's like
nice.
the main advantage.
So every time you come,
So every time you come, you just buy a beer, but you get 20 ounces. You get an extra 4 ounces. So every third, beer, your fourth beer or whatever, you're getting a free beer. Basically, is how it kind of works
cool.
out. And then you go to things. We do merch and da 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 da. This year we're going to flip it up again. Can't remember exactly what the program is this year, but it'll be fun no matter what. It's
Stay
difficult.
tuned.
We have like a big group of people, whatever, and then we try and we were trying to do like events to have everybody come, whatever, but not everybody can make it. So also they get discounts. Everybody who's a Frontier member today comes in and gets everything they buy is 20% off. They get and they have like first right to buy those bottles.
Yeah, that's the biggest
That
thing.
kind of
it's
thing,
just
yeah.
having access to things
Exactly.
that we're not going to sell.
Yeah, and those bottles are going to sell
gonna
out
go real
quick.
quick, yeah.
Yeah, so they get
and you don't run out of ideas, so it'd just be fun to see what's coming next if you're part of it.
exactly, and that's kind of more this time. Every month we're going to have like a new kind of something special that only the members get. We're going to start putting these guys are going to brew something super fun, and they're going to put it on, and it's going to be only Frontier members get.
Right.
It's like a secret tap.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So, it's endless. The things you can do to make it fun. So, we're going to just keep doing that.
This is good.
So yeah, this one
So what do
is
we have here?
this is a triple IPA. So this is the final frontier of this Frontier season.
Beyond the Arc Triple IPA.
Beyond the Arc.
Is that what it's called?
Yep. Like Beyond the Arc, that's like a 3-pointer.
Oh, okay.
So it's a triple.
That's really good.
That's really good for a triple, right? That's dangerous.
Yeah, most people wouldn't know this is a triple.
No. Yeah, if you smashed a couple of those, you'd be in trouble.
My stepson came and visited last week, and we were drinking these. He's like, they don't taste like they're rating. He's
Yeah.
like, I wouldn't know,
Yeah.
if I wasn't looking at them.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
So you
lowest
got
ABV
Magic
beer
Brewer.
here is like double what you would get, in like a Budweiser or a Coors or something. So,
So what's the ABV on this?
do you know what that is? 11?
10.
10?
10?
Yeah, it doesn't taste like 10.
Yeah. That'll get you sauced.
But it's still, it's not
No.
bitter. It's
yeah.
it's really, really nice.
Super smooth,
Man,
super drinkable,
10.
crisp.
Dante Magic.
And then, And then this last one is Sneaky Sips. Actually, I have the cans here.
Great cans.
Yeah, this one definitely knocked it out of the park on this one, Josh. This one,
those cans will tell you will tell you how old you are.
I
If
know,
you,
right?
If you know,
Yes.
if you know what that.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah,
The spy versus spy.
Actually, specifically how old John is.
exactly.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and then I don't know if you saw it or not, Steve, but there's an Easter egg on here, which is my son Johnny. Did you see that?
No,
Johnny's on there instead of the.
that's funny. I was
the
looking
Alfred
at
E. Newman.
that, and I was trying to figure out whose face that was.
Yeah, it's Johnny's.
It's Johnny. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's what I meant specifically. How old John is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, little Johnny.
Exactly. Yeah, John. So we could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's Mad
And
Magazine,
the
right?
Yep.
Yeah, right.
And we did a collab, that one with, this was with Three Weavers. And what was theirs
It's a
called,
great
Josh?
brewery.
Juicy Drips.
Juicy Drips is
Juicy
theirs, and
IPA.
ours is called Sneaky Sips.
Josh, I think this is where you like went beyond the extra credit on
He
this
did
can.
for sure, yeah.
I was
He
just-
really enjoyed this one, I think.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun, and I was excited that they let me do theirs too.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
because that was perfect, because that way they could just work perfect together.
Yeah,
This like brings up so many memories for me.
Yeah. exactly.
Mad
Magazine,
Magazine.
yeah.
Yeah.
These guys, like so many memories, and
Yeah.
like just crushed it.
And we
But-
went through a lot of effort or Josh did, to modify these characters, whatever the percentage is. There's, like by law, so that we didn't actually like.
Right.
It's based on the characters, but it's
You did
Josh,
homage,
Josh
is
made
what
it.
you
It's
did.
an homage,
Yeah.
exactly.
Parody law.
Parody law. Thank
20
you.
or 30%, I think.
Exactly. So if
But
you
I mean,
if you
that
side
would be
by side this with Spy versus Spy, it is different,
The
but
creators of Spy vs. Spy would
They're
want
pumped.
this.
yeah, I know.
Like, send them some.
You'd like to think that, but you never know when they're gonna drop the hammer on the lawsuit or whatever. But
Cease and desist.
cease and desist, and then we'll move on.
Well,
do
let's
something
drink
else.
them and move on.
So, anyways, I don't even know if I tasted it. Did you guys taste that one yet?
Yeah.
Sneaky Sips.
Your Three Weavers, they're really well respected
Yeah.
down in the South Bay area
Exactly.
where they're at. So
Yeah.
great collab.
Yep. I have my friend is a captain at Culver City Fire Department there, and those guys, that's like their spot. and
Yeah, absolutely.
They love that spot,
Yeah.
and I've hung out there a bunch of times with those guys and had a good time. It's a great spot. They're great people.
I have a question for you. I just from my history, my background, business, I've never seen anything so collaborative in business as brewing. I mean, and
Absolutely.
you know, I mean,
Absolutely.
you're beyond me. So like, you tell me,
No,
like,
I just-
have you seen it? Like,
No, and I think it's awesome, and but the sharing of recipes amongst the brewers, there's really a great community, fraternity of brewers, and I think we've done a great job. You've done a great job, John, and the brewers of promoting the collaboration and the fraternity
Yeah.
amongst. We've had plenty of people here where we've shared our facility
right?
with other breweries locally,
Yeah.
and but at the end of the day, you could have a recipe and take it to Ventura County, Santa Barbara County, LA County, San
Yeah.
Diego County, and the taste will be different.
Yeah, if you drop in the new water, doesn't matter.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah. Have you seen that with any other industry?
really,
though?
it's really unique.
I've never,
And
I haven't
it's
seen it with any other
exceptionally
industry.
unique.
Yeah.
And it's for me, I try to contribute as what I can contribute to this endeavor, but I've been so educated by John and Ollie and the brewers on things that really take me aback, and one of these things is how free they are with what they do and
Right.
how they brew, and I think it's great. It's just exceptional. And at the end of the day, it's part of the quality of the product, but it's also the brand. You look at that can, and when I saw the can, it was like, wow, that takes me back to when I was like 10 years old,
Right.
and Mad Magazine, and
Right.
and if you're 20 years old, you don't get
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
I get that,
Yeah.
and that's pretty, that's pretty exceptional. So,
Yeah.
but it's unique. That collaboration is very unique, and I think it's great. Really do. You get so much out of it. Really do.
Can we do
Cheers.
a quick tool?
Yeah, let's do it.
Keep it like 5 minutes.
Absolutely. So, you want to explain Tool?
What's
yeah.
Tool?
Well, it's Tool. It's funny because I was gonna piggyback it off of that because there was some really cool stuff there. But I wanted
100%.
to I wanted to get the one that came to my mind before we even started was learning in context. We talked about mentorships, but yeah, I was going to kind of steer you. Usually, we just ask like, what's a tool that you could provide? But I like learning in context was.
I could see you're like, the ocean's sitting there. I'm just gonna like, what part should I tap today?
Exactly.
Right.
So, yeah, and I think like back. So real quick, to give you context of tool. Tool basically it's TOOL, theory of overall logic, which is the idea is that it's like I feel like my generation was my parents taught common sense, but it was sort of subliminal, like they were teaching it, like they didn't realize that they were teaching our generation. And then people started saying common sense, either you have it or you don't. So then my generation started having kids, and then some kids different than others, and they kind of stopped teaching the common sense. The idea is kind of like we need to kind of bring back and like really.
They kind of left it to others to do it for them.
Exactly.
School,
and this focus that exactly like school, exactly. People think that school is supposed to teach the kids everything they know. School's only there to teach them math, reading, writing. Everything else in life to succeed should be taught by the parents. Like that art has been lost. So there's a lot of tools out there that that I think people from our generations have in our toolbox that we use to succeed and whatnot. And like there's a bunch of them. One of them is, like I said, like one of them specifically that I wanted to bring it all the way back to earlier in our conversation about the education that I've had. Like, I think a lot of the things that we've talked about, that you've taught me, a lot of things that you've taught me, I think those things were there in my life. I probably learned about them in school and whatnot, but they didn't soak in because I had no context.
Right.
I didn't know what a business.
You weren't applying it to.
I wasn't applying to anything specific.
Yeah.
Right? So now that I have a context, all these things,
opportunities to apply them.
Right. So now my ability to learn these things, the fact that I do have what we talk about in jiu-jitsu, the white belt mentality. I'm always a white belt. I'm always here to learn. I'm ready to come. I'm coming every day ready to learn, regardless of whether, what my belt status is, where I think I am in life. But when I'm in the context, I have the ability to apply it, like you said, apply all those things, or whatever. So that was kind of one thing that I wanted to talk about specifically. But if you wanted to go, if you wanted to take that ball and run with it, cool. Or if you had something else specifically, but like, what is a tool that like very clearly something that just kind of, it's something that's inside your head only, basically, but you apply it every day, to life that helps you succeed?
Wow. Okay. Could you prep me for this?
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, it's cool too, though. What I really like too, I mean, just to give you a little time to think about it, is that when a mentor came to you and said, "Do you want to learn how to be a billionaire?" Like no one's ever came to me with that.
Yeah.
Like it's like here's the box.
Yeah, and you're like,
and it wasn't.
And you're like, yeah, but like,
and it wasn't. To me, it was achievable. What he was telling me was achievable.
Right.
It was relatable, right? It wasn't you had to be smarter than someone else or, be able to, be an Einstein. It was, if you just put one foot in front of each other and you treat people right and you represent something that you believe in, you're going to be okay. You're going to really, and take some risk every once in a while. And if you find something that you see you can be successful at, then you go for it. And I think that's what we're here right now. We're here with Tarantula Hill, but to me, that's what I walked away from. Was like he was telling me something that he thought I could achieve.
Right.
From a standpoint of at least applying it.
Right.
So, I think for me, I think there's been something lost along the way of what we teach. And I watch you with your kids, actually. And Johnny's a freaking handful, and it's so much fun to watch other parents have kids who are handful, and I think you do a great job with both your kids. We have a daughter who grew up in California, married. Actually, they were working on Mammoth Mountain together, and she married a guy who came from Illinois, just north of St. Louis, who came from a farming and ranching family, and she moved back there, and was really a cultural shock for her. And they have one. We have one grandkid and another one on the way, but I watch how they are. That little boy is growing up, and he's growing up on a farm, and he's growing up on a ranch, and the values that they are instilling in him at age 2 years old, of what you have to do to just make things work. It's really takes me back to something that maybe was a couple of generations ago.
Yeah.
That were, and here, we maybe here in California we don't see, but that kid's gonna work. That kid's gonna be fine. He really is, by the values that they're instilling in him really early on. And so, that's an example of maybe of a tool that maybe the next generation gets it. That they've got to go back to some of these fundamentals, the way that what they're treating kids, how they're, how they're educating their kids, what values they're placing. That maybe got lost in the last generation.
I like that.
But
yeah, fundamentals.
It's kind of like these kids like recognize maybe they lost something.
Yeah.
And they're like bringing it back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last weekend he went to duck. What do they call it? Duck school. I'm like, what's duck school? He goes, well, we show them how to figure out how to, what ducks are, and how you shoot ducks, and it's just duck camp. It was duck camp.
He's like,
duck
hunting?
Duck camp. I'm like, I wish my dad would have took me to duck camp.
Like
That was
hunting
pretty
ducks?
Cool. Yeah.
Like
yeah.
in a boat?
Or
are they in
they're
blinds?
Yeah, they're in the blinds.
John's
Yeah.
like, what? I don't know.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about, but duck
Yeah, they're
is
in the
delicious. I know that.
But
It's a little dry.
Oh, I love
but he's
duck.
on,
Done right.
he gets on, he's on the John Deere with his dad.
Oh, there you go.
And it, farming every day, and that just gives there's a fundamental
cool.
perspective there that's, we got to get back to that.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome.
Yeah, amazing. Fundamentals are the key. People try and get fancy. Fundamentals always win, right? It's everything goes back to jiu-jitsu in our heads, right? Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's all about the fundamentals. Like, you can do some fancy flying something, whatever, but the guy who's got the solid fundamentals always wins.
So.
All right. Cheers.
This
I'm
has been
cheersing.
fun.
Oh,
It's been amazing.
We're going to cheers with all
These beers have been
You know what?
great.
3 different types of beers, drinks, to the diversity.
It's diversity. Cheers
This
to
has
4
been
years.
fun.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Steve.
guys. Appreciate it.
Thank
It's
you.
been fun.
Like John always rhyming over there. Cheers to the 4 years.